Okay, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Icee Boys Podcast.
Yeah, and
And
today we are tackling a big issue.
yeah, we wanted to talk about the gender pay gap unfairness that women's sports has in comparison to men's sports.
Yeah, overall, they have a lot more viewers, which provides them a lot more money in the
Mhm.
men's sports. So the women still have people. It's more centralized about how many people are actually watching them.
I feel like if women's sports were backed up by like a lot more women, it would really change like the viewership and the amount of funding they get. For example, the US women's national team for soccer has 4 World Cups and the men's team has 0, with the men's team still receiving more funding, which just doesn't really make sense to me. I feel like we also see this like pretty seriously in the WNBA. Like not many teams are really known and not a lot of players that come to my mind. And I feel like that's kind of the result of like misogyny in sports today, where it's just women's sports just don't get nearly as much broadcasting and coverage as men's sports do. And it's bad when there's athletes like Caitlin Clark who are just doing really good and getting a lot of media coverage, but as soon as they come to the WNBA, everyone seems to almost forget about them.
Yeah, you said about how not a lot of people know women's teams. Yeah, I don't think I could think of a single team besides ones that they share with the normal NBA. I mean, I
Hmm.
can name really any players. It,
Yeah.
not just because I don't bother to watch it, but I mean nobody you don't even see it on TikTok or anything of really any of them playing, and it's pretty weird
Hmm.
because they could just spend more advertising on it, but the, it doesn't seem like they do at all.
For sure. I do think this is an issue that sort of, there's definitely been tries to contain it. And for over the past decade, like we see how much women's sports have changed for the better, for sure. For example, the UFC having a women's section was a pretty big addition.
For the World Cup, it says they have 32 teams for the men, and they got 400 million, and the women had 24 teams, which they only received 30 million, which is
Mhm.
just like, even with the difference in teams is just crazy.
It's definitely an understatement. Like, how come these women are getting paid a lot less money than these men?
Yeah, even if they get paid better, I mean, even if they play better, they shouldn't be paid that much more because the men don't need to make that much anyway. They can just still split some of the money to the women. I mean, I guess there's a lot of money that and problems that goes into that, but I
Mhm.
mean, overall, it's just too much of a difference.
Yeah, money plays a big part of this, but honestly, sometimes it's not even about the money. It's just about the recognition and the respect that a lot of these female athletes do not get. And I believe that they don't get as much recognition as they should. Like some of the greats, obviously, you see, Serena and her sister Venus Williams totally changed the game of women's tennis, along
Yeah.
with Maria Sharapova, but they're not getting nearly as much support and love as like Djokovic or Rafa Nadal.
And I mean, in the times I see sports, because overall I'm not super interested in sports. I could watch it, but my like For You page say wouldn't isn't like filled with sports ever. And the times it is, I never see women on there. You never see anything relating to them. It's
Yeah.
always men.
Hmm. Yeah, I found this interesting. I was watching another the other day that this Chinese fighter Shi Ming, she's a
Oh yeah.
Chinese doctor but also a UFC fighter, and it just kind of shows like what these women have to do. Like they're fighting in the UFC. They should be making millions upon millions, but she still has to have a job as a doctor on the side,
Yeah, I
which I
saw
thought
that.
was pretty shocking and bizarre.
She did a really good performance. She like what was it, a one kick knockout? Or not one kick,
Mhm.
but it was after fighting for a little bit. That was pretty good.
women's UFC is actually pretty interesting to watch, and I feel like a lot of the times their fights are skipped, or it's even looked down upon when a female fight is in the main card of the event. But when you really watch them and you see what's going on, it's a lot different that somebody would expect, because we have this perception of women not being able to fight. But with these trained athletes, they'll take out people twice their size if they have to.
Yeah, did you see the Jake Paul and Tyson fight?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, so did you see the did you watch the whole thing or just like the highlights?
Yeah, I watched the whole thing, and honestly, I couldn't say I was impressed. And for the amount of money that they received, I found it pretty like shocking and stupid,
Oh
honestly,
yeah,
because
that yeah, it was underwhelming and honestly, I remember one of the things I do remember seeing about women's sports is that fight before the Jake Paul Tyson fight, the women's fight was really good. It was a lot better actually than the
really.
yeah, it was really good.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I must have missed the fight before that. And see, that's just an example of the little to none advertisement that women's boxing and women's sports in general receives. Like I didn't even know about this fight that happened before. And I'm sure these women got paid a lot less money than Jake Paul and Tyson, who put on a not so great performance, And it's just another example of unfairness in the sports scene.
Yeah,
For sure.
I think Paul and Tyson got like 20 million or something. I forget.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah,
yeah, no, they definitely got way less.
it's
Um,
insane. I do like though. I've been playing a lot of FIFA recently, FC 25, and they recently added. So they have these icon cards in the game where they have legendary soccer players,
mhm.
and recently they added female icons, and they added
Oh,
Ultimate
nice.
Team to play with female players, and I feel like that's a really cool addition because that actually helped me learn a lot more about these legendary soccer players that I've never heard of that are females, and I even have a couple on my team.
That's
So,
pretty sick. Um, is that the first game they've ever done it in?
um, I think it might be because it was so like it seems so weird at first to have like two genders playing on the same team, and but it works so well, and it's a flawless game,
Oh yeah,
honestly.
oh, so you play on the same team. That's cool.
Yeah, they play on the same team, just men and women together. I thought that was really interesting
Do you
and a
know?
good marketing.
Yeah, Caitlin Clark. What are some of like her big achievements?
Caitlin Clark was a standout shooter from Iowa, and she actually won the national championship with Iowa,
Oh wow,
and she completely led the team, and she became kind of a phenomenon. Like her 3-point shooting percentage was really high, and she got the attention of rappers like Travis Scott, who was seen at the Iowa game and rocking a Caitlin Clark jersey. It was just really cool to see a
really?
lot of coverage on her. But I feel like recently the hype has definitely died down
Yeah,
ever since she came to the WNBA, where she's only making what $76,000 a year, and that's just
that's
nothing
it.
compared to what these
Wow.
compared to these male players get.
Yeah, no, they're making in how many millions? Do you know?
LeBron's salary, for example, he's making 48 million a year.
48 million.
His son Bronny's actually making 1 million a year.
I wonder like if the money that say like LeBron gets where he's making how much did you say?
He's making around 50 million a year.
50 million. So I wonder
Yeah.
if he's guaranteed all that money just by like because he has to make that or if they like
Mm-hmm.
if they can choose how much he makes.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he's also definitely partnered with a lot of
Yeah, he has a
sponsorships.
lot of
I mean, a
sponsors
lot of
for
sponsorships, and
sure.
I think it's pretty easy for him to be reached out to by these sponsors, and I feel like they would make a lot more money if they also invested heavily into their female athletes, and for example, Caitlin Clark. But
Yeah,
you know,
if you like redistribute like 10 million of his of how much he makes into women's sports, like even that would be a lot. And it wouldn't even just have to be from him. Just like say like a part of each man's salary.
I wanted to talk about as well with women's sports in school. I like the addition of girls flag football.
Yeah,
I feel like for a game like football where it's hard to play for girls due to genetic disadvantages, but I really like this idea of creating this like almost equal to football level game for girls to play.
yeah. I mean, it is a good addition. I think they also
Hmm.
have women's wrestling, or I don't know if it's
Yeah,
water polo or not.
yeah, they have water polo, wrestling, they have girls basketball. So I'm starting to see that a lot of these male dominated sports are getting girls, their girls equivalents, and it's cool to see for sure.
Yeah, I definitely
And
been
they're slowly getting more traction too.
I definitely remember, I feel like freshman year or sophomore year, they would advertise more just sports in general over the speaker, like the loudspeaker during
Hmm.
the just Monday morning. Or,
Yeah.
but I definitely do see now on like Instagram stories and stuff, more girls participating in men's sports, like team pictures and stuff. I
Hmm.
definitely see that,
Yeah,
just in our
and
school.
it's not uncommon actually. I've seen a couple Instagram posts of girls playing on the boys football team, playing
Actually,
as a kicker or whatnot. But like, I think it's really inspiring to see that they just push through the adversities.
they definitely are a lot more known now.
Girls flag football is actually, I think it could be more fun to watch than football at our school. Like I was at their game, and it seems a lot more fast paced and to the point than football is with all of its stoppages. Flag football,
I feel like it might be
Um,
more straightforward to watch, more easier to
mhm.
understand. Because I
Yeah, it's
remember,
a lot simpler. Yeah.
yeah, I remember being at the football games, just the normal ones, and it was a lot of people just. It was kind of just confusing because everybody was just doing a bunch of different things. You never really got to
Mm.
pay attention to the game or what was actually happening.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you guys for tuning in for this episode, and we appreciate all of our viewers. Check us out on Spotify and YouTube.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
Apple Podcasts. Thanks.
Oh, yeah.